This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Wednesday, August 28th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, tracking Dorian. Will she become a full-strength hurricane? And will she hit Florida? America shifting values from patriotism to faith. Accusations of Trump supporters attacking journalists. It's a debate over accountability and politics. The life and faith of Christian artist Jeremy Camp, his story told in a movie starring Gary Sinise. We've got all those stories and much more in this edition of CBN Newswatch. We begin this hour with Puerto Rico under a state of emergency as the island braces for Tropical Storm Dorian. The storm wreaked havoc in parts of the Caribbean, flooding streets and downing power lines. The storm is gaining strength and is now heading to Puerto Rico. People on the island making final preparations. Now that island nation is still recovering from Hurricane Maria nearly 2 years ago. As many as 30,000 homes still with blue plastic tarps as roofs. FEMA says it will be ready this time around.
I think FEMA took a very aggressive stance for Dorian. It is the first system of the year, and we understand that the island is still very fragile.
Want to go now to Weather Bell meteorologist Joe Bastardi for more on Dorian and this hurricane season. So, Joe, what do you think most likely will happen with this storm?
Well, after Dorian gets by Puerto Rico, it'll be a 50 to 60 mile an hour tropical storm there, a formidable storm, but nowhere like the storms that devastated Puerto Rico in 2017. The feature will come up north of Hispaniola and up to the east of the Bahamas initially and then turn westward. You folks in Florida, if you can remember Francis, 2004, this looks like it could have a similar track to Francis, a similar intensity, reach the Florida coast Sunday, and then as it moves across Florida, and we could reach as a Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane, as it moves across Florida, it will slow down, and the steering currents will collapse to the north of it. So this could get stuck over the southeastern part of the United States for several days. And it's another case where you have a trough of low pressure, like with Harvey, going by to the north, stopping the storm from continuing its progress into the Gulf or just inland and dying. And you may see it just get into the Florida and then try to crawl up the southeast coast of the United States for a few days. We're very concerned about that. But right now, the call from us is that this is going to become a Category 2, perhaps Category 3 hurricane by landfall. Now, our forecasted track, if you notice, it's up and then it bends to the west. Whenever you see that kind of track, they are using that track because they're responding to a favorable upper air pattern for development. You see, so if you look at some of the great storms versus Andrew, if you look at Andrew, it was bending out and then it turned to the west. After that, or Donna back in 1960, you even saw that with Irma. When they come up, but then turn to the west, when they get that west turn back again, and this is coming through the northern Bahamas and on in toward Florida, that's when they can really intensify. So it's a real forecast headache.
So what do you anticipate for the remainder of the hurricane season?
Well, this is part of our scatter shot season. You notice that this is the first one to develop out of the main development area. Erin, by the way, will interact with a cold front and dump a lot of rain across southeast New England tonight into tomorrow morning. So we don't want to forget about Erin. She's a pretty impressive feature. And she's actually further west than what it looked like it was going to be, but the strong winds will stay offshore with Erin. But you see these systems like Barry and Erin, and even this storm, Dorian. One of the things we are emphasizing at Weather Bell from back in April was that the storms would be stronger further north relative to averages. In other words, when you saw 2017, they were all getting very powerful in the islands and down near Puerto Rico. And you see this is a 50 to 60 mile an hour storm rather than 140, 150. And then that was Maria. Maria weakened off its peak before it recurved. Of course, Irma weakened off its peak before it hit the United States. So we're looking at the opposite type of year this year, even though overall activity, the total what we call ACE index, may be down. The impact from these storms that get in close to the United States are still something that's formidable. We always look at Bell, 76, for instance, that was a down year, but New England got hit. Bob, 1991, New England got hit. And Andrew, 1992, that wasn't a big year, but you have one severe hurricane, folks. My definition of an active season is if you get hit, you have an active season.
Indeed it is. Some, though, say that this season is one of the calmest in 35 years. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, it's because of the things that we've been mentioning from the preseason. There's an imbalance in the entire tropics this year. All the tropics are quiet. I suspect it has something to do with the cooling of the southern hemisphere oceans, which in turn distributes the heat further north. In other words, you need to focus heat right over the tropics to get these storms. When spread out further north, part of that because of the warmer state of the atmosphere, especially over the northern hemisphere, you get imbalances like this that aren't necessarily the kind of things where people go, oh, global warming, these storms are going to be worse. The fact is that hasn't happened, but you still can get one or two big storms, and I think you're going to see that case here.
All right. Joe Bastardi of Weather Bell, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, as always.
A federal judge in Missouri blocked a restrictive abortion law from going into effect. The law would have penalized medical professionals who perform abortions after 8 weeks into pregnancy with up to 15 years in prison. It does not include exceptions for cases of rape or incest, but does for instances to prevent a pregnant woman's death or serious physical impairment. The court did, however, uphold sections of the law preventing abortions based on sex, race, and Down syndrome. Abortion activists are calling yesterday's ruling a win. 19 states and Washington, D.C. filed a lawsuit yesterday over the Trump administration's new immigration regulations. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security said last week it will alter a federal agreement that limits how long immigrant children can be kept in detention. A previous settlement said immigrant children must be kept in the least restrictive setting for no more than 20 days. The new regulation would allow families in detention longer than that. Some claim doing so would harm the children.
I have no doubt in my mind at all that someday my kids, all of our kids, will look back and say, what on God's green earth were all of you thinking? What were you possibly thinking as a nation to treat children this way? There is no doubt in my mind. We are here today because we want to say that Washington State is not going to be a part of that. We're not a part of that.
Roughly 475,000 families have crossed the border so far this year. A federal appeals court ruled Friday a Pennsylvania House policy banning atheists from opening prayer does not violate the Constitution. The ruling states opening prayers for legislative sessions are limited to guest chaplains who believe in God or a divine or higher power. The Freedom from Religion Foundation had petitioned against the ban, claiming it violates free speech, free exercise of religion, and equal protection. A lawyer who argued the case said opening sessions with prayer dates back to the earliest days of our Commonwealth, and the current House practices is simply a continuation of that historical tradition. American values are shifting. A new poll shows values considered, quote, very important 2 decades ago are now less important. 61% of the 1,000 Americans polled cited patriotism as very important to them. That is down 9% from 1998. In the poll, 50% cited a commitment to religion as very important. That's down 12 points. And 43% put a high value on the goal of having children. That's down 16 points. Interestingly, there's a generational gap with younger Americans ranking these values lower. And still to come in this edition of CBN NewsWatch, accusations of Trump allies attacking journalists and matters of accountability versus politics. We're going to unwrap the debate. It's coming up right after this. Stay with us.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
The New York Times is accusing conservative allies of President Trump of attacking journalists. A recent article specifically points out a group for researching and releasing embarrassing statements and social media posts by journalists. Now, this includes a New York Times editor who posted anti-Semitic tweets in college. While the Times says the editor's remarks are a violation of standards, it also claims the group's goal is to harass and embarrass anyone affiliated with leading news organizations that are asking tough questions. One writer at Politico disagrees. Jack Schaefer writes that journalists don't deserve a get-out-of-bigotry jail-free card just because they are journalists. I Wendy Griffith talked with Media Research Center's Dan Gaynor for his insights.
Dan, media groups like the Times and CNN are crying foul, but is this any different from them holding people in government accountable for their statements?
It's not different at all. In fact, they don't just hold people in government. We just saw the New York Times do a hit job of Western journalism. We watched NBC go after Epoch Times. You've had outlets target individuals on Twitter just because they support Trump. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do kind of things, and it's ridiculous. Sulzberger's comments hold the Times up to ridicule, and Jack Schaefer said that, and he's right.
Well, why do journalists believe they shouldn't be held accountable to the same standards as others?
Well, I mean, they think, I think the sort of collective they, I mean, there are exceptions, but the collective they for journalism think that they're doing sort of almost priesthood, a holy order of journalism. And look, I'm a huge supporter of journalism, spent decades in news organizations. But that doesn't mean that you're protected. There are outlets, CNN has a whole media team that goes and targets different people. This is a common practice. One of New York Times reporters actually went on TV and said, this is just basically people doing oppo research. Exactly. Why why make a big deal of just saying, yes, if people find stuff, then we'll deal with it when that happens.
Yeah. Well, Dan, the Times publisher is calling it a campaign against the free press. Do you agree?
No, it's almost like journalists decided they own the First Amendment. They don't. The Constitution, last time I checked, belongs to all of us. That means freedom of the press belongs to each one of us. Free speech belongs to each one of us. So if you say or do really embarrassing things, don't be surprised if somebody goes and looks in your Twitter feed and says, hey, oh, I saw that you said this thing. One of the conservative reporters came out and said, look, people targeted tweets of hers in high school. But that's okay because the press is supposed to be doing it. No. Everybody plays by the same set of rules.
Well, what do you think, though, about this group, whoever they are, that is uncovering these embarrassing statements and things from 30, 40 years ago in some cases? I mean, is that really serving a purpose? Is it helping any of us?
Well, I mean, I don't think they started the fight. And that's, the left and the traditional media started this fight where they think that they are above critique, above any sort of investigation on their end, but they can go around and systematically try to destroy people. The guy who does the memes calls on Twitter Carpe Donkum. Media outlets went out to try to reveal who he is. Why? He does silly memes on Twitter, but they became important as a way of targeting him. So, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, or as they said in the movie Die Hard, welcome to the party, son.
Well said. Can't say it any better than that. All right, Dan Gaynor, thanks so much for your insights. We always appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still ahead, one of the voices behind the worship at the Potter's House Church, her story of music and her story of faith when we come back. Stay with us.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
And welcome back. Her life story is one of rebellion and restoration, and she's sharing it with the world so others will know that freedom is possible for them as well. Her name is Tania Baker, and she's one of the voices of worship you'll hear at Bishop T.D. Jakes' Potter's House Church in Dallas. She's currently working on her 5th solo album, and we had the chance to sit down with this Christian artist, teacher, and author to talk about that work and her faith.
Tania Baker leads believers in worship regularly here at the Potter's House, one of the largest churches in the country. With a new album in the works, this Dayton, Ohio native's powerful voice is already heard on 4 solo albums and countless compilation projects.
When did you know you had the gift to sing?
You know, I guess maybe into my adulthood, because I thought everybody could sing. Everybody in my family sings.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, it's no big deal. So when I was in high school, we had a homecoming pageant, and I auditioned to be in the homecoming pageant, and I sang a song. I sang Feel the Fire by Peebo Bryson. So, and my science teacher came up to me and she said, "Girl, do you know you have a gift?" And I was like, "What?" She said, "Did you hear yourself singing?" And I said, "Well, everybody can sing."
This comes from the science teacher.
Yes. And I said, you know.
Let praises rise from the inside, from the inside of me.
Singing to me is a gift, of course. However, combined with the anointing, it makes a huge difference. So 1993 is when I really began to see, like, whoa, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And when you surrender to God and yield to Him and say, hey, whatever you want to do with this, I'm giving it to you. And you make something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the people respond to.
I have heard you say in at least one interview that you didn't get serious about the calling on your life and living the life until 1991.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in 1991?
Well, I was a teenage mom. I got pregnant when I was in high school.
Wow.
And the church that I grew up in, traditional missionary Baptist church, and so they weren't playing any games. They, gotta sit down, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so I stopped singing. And it was just, I didn't realize the outlet that I was missing until in 1990, there was a community choir that developed. And so I said, well, let me join this community choir, give me an outlet to sing, because I wasn't active in my church. Mm. And we did a youth revival. We were invited to a youth revival. And this preacher, I don't know who he was. I can't remember. All I know is he was from the Cleveland area. Mm. But he began to preach so, and conviction fell, it just gripped me. And, I was weeping. I was like, God, I'm so sorry, And it was as if nobody else was in the church. This is a big old church. And he's preaching and he's going hard. And he said, God says, if you will surrender to me, I will use you. It's not too late. And it was like the Holy Spirit gripped me. Mm. And he said, come down. I didn't even realize I was walking down to the front of the church until I was down there. Mm-hmm. And my hands were lifted. I was crying. I said, God, if you will use me, I promise I'll give you my all.
And you can catch more entertainment news this evening right here on the CBN News Channel on Studio 5. It begins at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Coming up, new details on a movie about the life of Jeremy Camp and the faith behind the music of this popular Christian artist. Stay with us.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're gonna bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
The true story of Christian music artist Jeremy Camp is coming to the big screen, starring some big names you might recognize. I Still Believe features country music star Shania Twain, as well as seasoned actors Gary Sinise and Britt Robertson. The role of Jeremy Camp is played by a New Zealand actor, KJ Apa. The film focuses on Jeremy Camp's journey of love and loss while proving there is always hope. Twain and Sinise play Camp's parents who are worried when their 20-year-old son wants to marry his love interest despite her cancer diagnosis. I Still Believe is scheduled to hit theaters in March of 2020. Right now, it is time for your Wednesday word, and today's word is faith. Without it, it's impossible to please God. Consider this. The opposite of faith is not doubt, it's fear. The choice is yours to make. Live in fear or live in faith. Faith doesn't mean you won't have doubt. It means you will allow faith to win over doubt in those moments of doubt and frustration. That is going to do it for this first edition of CBN News Watch. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find more on our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime. You can also find us online at cbnnews.com. And we'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address is newswatch@cbn.com. And you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless everybody.